Hi, you're listening to Anonymous Stories, honest confessions without judgment. If you have a story of your own, you can share it with us anonymously. Thank you for trusting us and for sharing your stories with us. Enjoy listening.
I always knew the past doesn't disappear. It just waits until you're weak enough. I'm 43. I have a husband, children, a house, a life that looks stable and respectable. I know how to look like a woman who has everything under control. I know when to smile, when to speak, when to stay silent. But there is one man who knows me without the mask. I met him when I was 22, before I became a wife, before I became a mother, before I learned how to be appropriate. Back then, my body reacted faster than my mind. I was emotion, not a role. He was older, calmer, dangerous in that calm way. He didn't rush me, didn't push, didn't promise. And that's why I moved toward him on my own, the way you move toward fire knowing you'll get burned. Our affair was wrong from the start. Not because anyone was taken, but because it was too real. He saw through me, saw when I lied to myself, saw when I performed. Sometimes he looked at me in a way that made me want to turn away, like he could see me stripped down, not physically, but emotionally. The relationship wasn't dirty because of sex. It was dirty because I lost control around him. I remember waking up next to him one morning and realizing, if I stay, I will disappear as the person the world expects me to be. And that terrified me. So I left. For my future husband. For safety. For approval. For a life where no one asks me what I truly want. I got married. Had children. Learned how not to remember. Almost 15 years passed before he messaged me. One short text. No nostalgia. No emotion. My body recognized him before my mind did. We started talking again. I caught myself checking my phone too often, deleting messages, hiding smiles, feeling shame and hunger at the same time. The first meeting after all those years was a mistake I made consciously. I remember the smell of his jacket, the way he stood too close, the way something inside me woke up, the desire to be real instead of convenient. We shouldn't have touched. We did, and it was worse than cheating. It was returning to the version of myself I buried for my family. From that moment, my life split, not into before and after, but into day and night. By day, I was a wife, a mother, a woman who knows how to behave. By night, I was someone replaying words, pauses, near-touch moments in my head. Sometimes I came home and looked at my husband like a stranger. Sometimes I hated myself for maintaining this double life. The dirtiest part isn't physical closeness. It's anticipation. Waiting for his messages. Waiting for rare moments of truth. Telling myself every time, this is the last time. It's been 3 years. I'm still married. I still don't leave. I still meet the man from my past. He doesn't ask me to leave my husband. I don't ask him to stay. We exist in the space between decisions, where there's no future, only dependence. Sometimes I think the most dangerous affair isn't the one that destroys your life immediately. It's the one that slowly eats you alive while everything on the surface stays intact.
I'm married to a woman I no longer feel anything for. We've been together for over 20 years. We have children, a shared home, routines, responsibilities. From the outside, we look like a solid marriage. The kind people point to and say, they've been together forever. They must be happy. The truth is, it ended a long time ago. Love didn't disappear in one dramatic moment. There were no affairs, no scandals, no screaming matches. It faded quietly, dissolved into routine, exhaustion, and silence, into the fact that we stopped being genuinely curious about each other. We're good partners. We know how to compromise. We don't raise our voices. We talk about bills, kids, weekend plans. We don't talk about us. I don't remember the last time I wanted to hold her out of desire instead of politeness. or kiss her without it feeling automatic. We still have sex. Infrequent, careful, empty. Like a task on a checklist that feels awkward to remove entirely. I often think this is what makes it terrifying. Not hatred, not conflict, but indifference. I don't stay because I love her. I stay because it's easier. Easier than explaining to our kids why their father no longer lives at home. Easier than dividing a life we built together. Easier than starting over at an age where illusions are already gone. Sometimes I find myself envying men who got divorced. Even those who lost a lot. At least they made a choice. I feel like I made mine years ago and forgot that choices can be revisited. We almost never fight. But we also never laugh together. In the evenings, we sit in the same room, each with our own phone, our own thoughts. Sometimes I wonder if anything would actually feel different inside if we lived in separate apartments. I know she feels it too, we just never say it out loud. Because the first one to speak the truth becomes the one who destroyed a perfectly good family. Sometimes it feels like I'm living a version of life that's convenient for everyone, except me. I'm not unhappy. But I'm not alive either. And the scariest part is that I'm not sure I have the courage to change anything. Because a loveless marriage is a prison without locks. You can leave, but taking the first step is terrifying.
I live off my parents, and I'm not ashamed of it. At least, that's what I've always said. And for a long time, it was true. I don't have a job. I don't have a career. I don't have ambitions people usually call serious. What I do have is an apartment my parents pay for, money to live on, alcohol most evenings, and the comforting feeling that I don't owe anyone anything. I never saw the point of working myself to death. Growing up, I was surrounded by exhausted men, angry at their jobs, distant from their families, quietly hating their lives while pretending this was adulthood. I decided early on that I wouldn't become one of them. I chose freedom. I drink a lot, not every day, but often enough. Enough that mornings start later than they should. I party. I sleep with women. Sometimes a lot of them. Sometimes just one, but never for long. I don't stay, because I like being alone. That's what I tell people. That's what I tell myself. I don't want responsibility. I don't want obligations. I don't want a life built around schedules and expectations. My parents are alive. They help me financially. Why not? They offered. Said it made them feel calmer knowing I was okay, knowing I had a roof over my head. I didn't ask. I just accepted. And everything was fine. Until her. She works at the coffee shop across the street from my building. A small place. Laptops, tired faces, people rushing somewhere. I walked in one morning by accident. Hungover, irritated, half awake. I didn't feel like walking any farther. She stood behind the counter and smiled in a way that didn't feel rehearsed. Not a customer service smile, just warm, present. Like this day wasn't exactly the same as all the others. Your usual? She asked on the third day. And something inside me shifted. She noticed me. I started going there every day. Same time, same coffee, same seat by the window, pretending it was just a habit. It wasn't. I just wanted to see her. We talked a little, about the weather, about the music playing in the cafe, about how hard mornings are. Nothing personal, nothing deep, but somehow, it was enough. She was different, not like the girls from bars and parties. She didn't ask what I did for a living. She didn't flirt aggressively. She just existed in her own life. And for some reason, that hit me harder than anything else. I thought about her at home. I drank less before going there, so I wouldn't smell. I changed my clothes, checked myself in the mirror, and then a thought started eating at me from the inside. What do I even have to tell her about myself? I'm 3. I've accomplished nothing. I can't talk about my job. I don't have one. I can't talk about plans. I've spent years avoiding them. I can't talk about achievements because I never cared enough to build any. For the first time, my lifestyle didn't feel like a philosophy. It felt like a problem. Sometimes I noticed other men talking to her, normal men, working men, with bags, watches, tired eyes. They paid, smiled, left. And suddenly, I felt awkward, sitting there in the middle of the day with nowhere to be, nothing to do. I kept postponing the moment I'd ask her out. Tomorrow. When the moment feels right. when I know what to say. But what do you say when your entire life is built on avoidance? I realized I'd never been afraid of dating before. Because I didn't care. I didn't invest. I didn't hope. I didn't risk anything. This time, there was risk. One day she asked, casually, "So what do you do?" It was a simple question, no pressure, no judgment, but my chest tightened. "Oh, this and that," I said, still figuring things out. The lie was weak. We both felt it. I left the cafe and, for the first time in years, felt something I wasn't used to feeling. Shame. Not loud, not dramatic, just quiet and sticky. The kind that doesn't make you want to drink. It makes you want to disappear. That night, I drank more than usual. Not because I was having fun, but because something had become too clear. I was fine being alone until someone appeared who made me want to be someone. I don't know how this story ends. I still haven't asked her out. I still live off my parents. I still drink. I still avoid decisions. But every time I walk into that coffee shop across the street, I feel my comfortable, careless life starting to crack. And the scariest part is this. For the first time, I actually care who I am when she asks again.
It's been 5 years since we broke up. 5 years, long enough for life to move on. And somehow, not long enough for me to stop loving you. I know how that sounds. Wrong, unhealthy, embarrassing. People don't like stories like this. They prefer neat conclusions. They want to hear that time healed everything. That one day I woke up and realized I felt nothing anymore. That didn't happen to me. We were together for almost 4 years. Not since high school. Not from our teenage years. We met as adults when love is supposed to be a choice, not an accident. We lived together. Shared routines, exhaustion, comfort, boredom, joy. We had our own jokes, our own streets, our own quiet evenings. We were a we. And I still don't know when exactly it started to fall apart. There was no explosion, no betrayal, no dramatic turning point. You just became a little more distant. I became a little quieter. We stopped asking how each other's day was going. Not because we didn't care, but because the answers had started to sound the same. The day you told me you wanted to break up, I didn't scream, I didn't cry. I just sat there, looking at you, trying to understand how someone who had been my entire world yesterday could speak to me so calmly today. You said you had fallen out of love. You said you were tired. You said it would be better for both of us. I nodded. Because I didn't know what else to do. Because everything inside me was already collapsing, and my body was just following a script. When you left, I didn't run after you. I closed the door and stayed in the apartment that still smelled like you. Your mug, your jacket, your toothbrush. I didn't touch anything for days. It felt like if I started erasing you from the space, you would disappear from me too. You disappeared from my life quickly. I disappeared from my own, slowly. The first year after the breakup felt like fog. I lived on autopilot, I went to work, talked to people, smiled when I was supposed to. No one knew that every night I replayed the same scenes in my head. Our conversations, our trips, your hands, your voice when you said my name. I wasn't strong. I was numb. I tried to move on, I went on dates, sometimes they even led to sex, but every time it felt like betrayal, not of you, but of myself. I caught myself comparing everything, not looks, not behavior, but the feeling, and no one felt like you. People said, "You just need time. You'll meet someone else. This will pass." 1 year passed, then 2, then 3. I stopped waiting for your messages, stopped checking your social media every day, stopped hoping you would suddenly change your mind. But the love didn't leave. It just got quieter. Deeper, like chronic pain you get used to until you move the wrong way and it hits you all over again. Sometimes you showed up in my dreams. In them, we were still together. You held me the way only you ever did. I'd wake up with the feeling that I had lost you again, and for a few seconds, I couldn't breathe. The hardest part isn't loneliness. The hardest part is moving forward while internally staying where everything ended. I grew up in those 5 years. I became different, stronger, more careful. I learned how to be alone. I learned how not to wait. I learned how not to build my life around one person. But loving you was never a decision, and it didn't become one I could undo. Sometimes I think it would have been easier if we had broken up because of cheating or betrayal. Hatred is a useful crutch. But I didn't get that. You just left. Calmly. Kindly. Without drama. Without a reason I could cling to. I ask myself questions I'll never get answers to. Do you ever think about me? Do you remember me when you hear our song? When you pass the places we used to go? Or am I the only one still stuck in a life that no longer exists? 5 years is a long time. In that time, people get married, divorced, have children, start over completely. And I still sometimes catch myself mentally telling you about my day, as if you were still here. I don't wait for you to come back. I don't build fantasies. I just admit something people don't like to hear. Love doesn't always go away. And the scariest part is, I don't know if I even want it to. Because when it does, the last thread connecting me to the version of myself that was genuinely happy will disappear too. It's been 5 years. I live. I smile. I function. But somewhere inside me, there's still a woman who loves you as if the breakup never happened.
I'm not trying to kill myself. I just live like it doesn't really matter if I wake up tomorrow. I'm 41. I have a job, an apartment, a car, friends I can drink with. From the outside, my life doesn't look broken. I haven't hit rock bottom. I'm still functioning. And that's what makes it worse. Self-destruction rarely looks like a disaster. More often, it looks like routine. Like a habit of choosing things that slowly erase you without killing you outright. I don't have one addiction. I have a lifestyle. Alcohol. Not every day, but often enough that it's not normal. Random hookups, not for sex, but for the silence afterward. Work until exhaustion, so there's no energy left to think. I've learned how to live without being alone with myself. The first time I realized something was wrong wasn't when things got bad. It was when they stopped being good. When I stopped feeling joy or pain, just a flat, gray exhaustion. I started making choices that hurt me. Consciously, not to punish myself, but to feel something. Some mornings I wake up and don't immediately know where I am. Not because I'm drunk, because I'm empty. I don't think, why get up? I think I have to. People say things like, you're holding it together. You're strong. You always manage. They don't understand that I'm not holding on. I'm just falling very slowly. The dirtiest part is the control. I know my limits. I know how much I can drink and still function. I know who to sleep with so I don't get attached. I know how to look normal. I'm a high-functioning collapse. Sometimes, sitting alone at a bar, I catch myself thinking, if this ended right now, an accident, my heart giving out, anything, I wouldn't even be scared. Not because I want to disappear, but because I'm tired of existing. I'm not waiting to be saved. I'm not asking for help. I'm just erasing myself in small, manageable portions. Sometimes I think the scariest thing isn't dying. It's living another 20 years like this. Feeling nothing. Choosing nothing. Just existing. I don't know when I stopped wanting better for myself. But I know this much. Rock bottom isn't a moment. It's a process.